you want to have a positive impact on the world and the people around you, the people that you've met. And so when I say, I want people to come to my funeral and be like, oh, he was a good guy. What I really want is I want to know that I made a positive impact on their lives, on the world, on other people, because really, I think that's what it comes down to is it's positivity. I want that in the world and I want it to come back to me, but I want other people to get it.
Welcome back to Create and Connect, the podcast where craft meets conversation. I'm your host, Tom from the Phoenix Woodshop. My guest today is Logan Newman of Newman Specials Woodwork out of Rochester, New York. He is a Navy vet, a full-time vision care teacher, and the guy behind one of the most followed jig building channels in the woodworking community, with over 200,000 people that tune in to watch him to solve real shop problems, one clever fix at a time. Help me welcome to the podcast, Logan. Thank you for joining me today.
I love that. Thank you so much, Tom.
Yeah. Well, we finally got together. We finally made some time, and we were able to connect at Sparks and Sawdust. I did bump into you a few times up at Maker Camp in the Blackthorn. Oh, yeah. Tell me what you enjoy about the Maker community and how you realized you were a part of that community.
You know what? There's so many great people. There really are. And there are a few people who have egos and, I'm better than everyone else. And then there are a lot of people who are just really nice and just fun to talk to and bounce ideas off. And it's great to see the ideas that other people have and be able to use those to help you grow, but also watch other people grow. It's Mara from Silver Hair and Sawdust. She first started following me, I don't know, years ago, and she would comment. And so I started following her back. And it's like one of those things. You watch somebody grow and evolve and change. And I don't know, I just love being able to connect and watch people learn new things and have fun.
Yeah, I want to ask you about something might be controversial, but the trolls. You seem to be able to manage the troll followers on social media pretty well. And having met you and speaking with you, you're a regular guy and approachable, which is really kind of you. But I think that some of us in the content creating space, you could get caught up with those negative comments. And I know that some people have shared negative comments with you. And, it's not, nobody's made of that much resilience that it doesn't bother you. Tell me how you manage that.
It depends on what it is. I think overall, I feel like I'm pretty lucky. I don't have huge numbers of negative comments. Sometimes I do. I posted one, video this past weekend that I thought was pretty innocuous. It's a way to hang up clamps using a T-track and some bolts. And, you get the comments of, well, that sticks out too far from the wall. I'm going to walk into it. And I got a decent number of those. But, the thing for me is I know my shop and I know where it is. I put it somewhere where I wouldn't have to walk into it. But secondly, dude, if you're going to walk into stuff that much, you got serious issues. So it's not me. You don't know how to move, right? It blew me away. But I also had, my favorite one was a guy goes, that's ugly. And my comment back was, it's a workshop. What do you want? Art? This is not, I make stuff and this is something that I personally struggle with. I make a lot of jigs and I can't think of one of them that you would look at and go, wow, that is just a beautiful thing, because I make functional stuff. I'm not looking to make a jig that is a hand-me-down. I'm making a jig that I'm going to use time and again, and it's going to get beat up. These are things that are made to be used and possibly broken. So I don't really care about it. But, you have to look at what people say and realize either they don't know what they're talking about, or maybe they do have a point, and I think it's important to take those both at the face value of they're just being a jerk, and also with the, all right, do they have a point? Because if 700 people say the same thing, I have to look at it and be like, yeah, okay, But overall, like I said, the main part is that the trolls are not a constant. There are sometimes, and you just have to laugh at some of those people.
I like how they put that whole a social media troll following in the Superman movie, the newest Superman movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Oh, wait. Yeah, I did. I was
And
thinking Supergirl.
yeah, so the in Superman, he came up with something, and it was just, monkeys, having their neuroreceptors, and that's kind of how I feel, some of these people are, that either whether it's a bot or it's just somebody who's not actually taking the time to create out of their imagination, out of their passion, out of their necessity. And anybody that runs or is fortunate enough to have a shop area in their home, they're going to make it useful to them. I came across a guy, Phil is his name, and he runs the Greenwich Locksmith on 7th Avenue South in Greenwich Village in Manhattan. He has the smallest commercial square space in New York City.
Wow.
And it's basically a 36-inch counter space, and he's cutting keys all day long. And he knows where every key is. He knows where every blank is. He knows where every tool is. And that's all he needs. And people keep coming by and say, expand your shop, do this, do that. He's like, no, everything is right here. And he bought the shop from the locksmith that he apprenticed under, and he's a staple in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You know your space, you know what works for you, and you set it up the way that is best for you. As you're saying it, I think it's really important that, that's what we're aware of with these trolls, is that, first of all, they would never come up to you and say something like they say. They feel secure. So they need that anonymity. They need that to feel better about themselves. Right away, you're winning, right? Because you're putting yourself out and you're saying, this is what I do, or this is how I do it. And they're coming on with their little fat, chubby fingers, keyboard typing away. Tip, 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 tip. You're an idiot. Okay, well, I'm showing my stuff. You're not even brave enough to do that. And you have to look at the fact that I think creating content and posting it, you have to have some self-confidence and bravery, right? Because you know that there are people out there that are going to say something. There's always going to be. And the fact that you're still willing to do it, knowing that you're going to have either negative feedback or people not paying attention, that says a lot more about you than it does about anyone who, you know what I mean? It says a lot about you compared to what those people are saying. Secondly, the other thing that I always think is important is you know your space. You know what you need. You know what works best for you. Yes, my little T-track bolt thing is perfect for my space, because what I had before was two dowels coming out of wood that were, I don't know, about 5 inches wide. And it was not enough space for me to put all of my clamps on there, four clamps. These are just trigger clamps. So I came up with something better that fits that space, because where it is not a place that I go. It's not I don't have to access the shelf underneath it. It's perfect for me. And the people commenting going, oh, wait, now you can't access the shelf underneath. Now, that sticks out too much. No, because I know my space. And if you pay any attention, you probably would be able to see that.
Yeah, well, I like how necessity is the mother of invention, and you just make it work, and realizing in your space the flow isn't working, and then all of a sudden it's like an epiphany. It's like something as simple as the T-track with the bolts. They can hold it up and it's functional. And sometimes function outweighs form or even beauty. And the beauty of it is not aesthetically pleasing. The beauty of it is functionality. So, and you get these people 2,000 years ago yelling Barabbas from the back of the crowd, and, look at how that worked out. So that's what I think of.
Well, you know what, though? Let's go with another cliche, since we've thrown out a couple here. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? For me, that T-track clamp system is beautiful because it is so functional and it does exactly what I need, right? And it's adjustable. Someone else looking at it, obviously, the first thing they see bolts and T-track, and they're like, that's stupid looking. Well, then you're missing the beauty, right? No, one of my favorite things that I did for my shop, and I think that's the whole conversation, is the workbench extension I built onto my main workbench. I love that. I actually haven't even taken it down. It's now become almost permanent. But the fact is that I can't easily take it down if I need to, and move it out of the way, because when I build bigger things, sometimes I have to move my shop around. And the fact is that everything in my shop is mobile. So, having it set up perfectly for myself is great.
Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of us are trying to do is set up our space that's functional. A lot of times it needs to be mobile because I know for myself, my CNC table is not mobile. It's a permanent fixture and it's up against the wall. So there's no variation. So once you're committed to that, being able to take it down, it would be nice.
Even my CNC I even made sure that I put the heavy duty foot pedal. However, when I built it on the concrete floor, and there's a lip around it. So I actually need to move it out of that corner at some point, because I think that the concrete floor underneath is possibly cracked. So I need to pull the whole thing out. And in order to do that, I already know how it's going to happen, but it's going to be a pain.
A project. It's just another project. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to involve the ratchet clamps. What do they call the one that come along? Ratchet clamp. It's going to involve a 2-ton car jack. And I'm just going to basically just yank it and push it and move it, and we'll see how that goes. Oof.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get Frank to come over and give you a hand with that.
I haven't even talked to Frank in forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know how he is. It's nice. We have there are a couple woodworkers in the community up here. We have a couple get-togethers once in a while. I'd like to do another one.
Well, the season is thawed out. I mean, you're in summertime now, so that's helpful.
That's always the difficult part, is finding the time for everybody and making sure that there's never a good time for everyone to get together.
Listen, I say at home all the time, I said, we got to plan it and put it on the calendar. You could always reschedule it, but if you don't plan it, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So schedule it, and then we'll work from there. Let's talk about how you connect with the people in the maker community, because you do have a big presence. You've done some presentations, and you've been a keynote presenter in some of these areas. So what have you found about connecting with people through woodworking?
I think the biggest thing in connecting to people is, we're all so excited about the things we've built, right? How many times do you go start talking to somebody? They're like, oh, here's my phone, look at this. And you start showing pictures. So I recognized early on that I love talking about my woodworking, and people who aren't makers aren't necessarily as interested in listening to it after a certain point, right? You go to dinner, your wife, your wife, your friends, and you start talking about something. You're so excited. You're showing pictures, and you can, oh yeah, this is great. And then you start seeing the die off from those other people. So I think for me, when I get a chance to talk to makers and start showing pictures, and we start showing pictures and talking about stuff, I think the biggest thing is listening and really appreciating the work that goes into it, and any problems, any issues, anything that they had to overcome, because that's the other part. And I am 100% sure that you are the same way. Everybody I've met is, when I show you something, I'll show you, oh, look at this beautiful piece that I built. I love it. And you'll go, oh, this is great. And then I'll say, yeah, but this is where I messed it up, right? You can't see it, but this, and then I did this, right? So how did we mess it up? What issues did we have? How did we fix it? And how did it come out so nice? Because I have never met somebody who does not want to go through all of those things. Because as a maker, it's not just about making, it's about, I truly believe this, it's about overcoming what issues we had, right? We're having fun with it, versus someone who's a carpenter whose sole job is building the interiors of houses, right? That's their job. We're all makers. This might be our full-time job, but we do it because we're passionate about it, because we enjoy it, because we like talking about it. So long-winded, long way to talk about this is, I really think that the key thing is having the space to talk with people. And for you and I can say, yes, we met up at Maker Camp, but Maker Camp is so busy that we never had a chance to really sit down and talk. Whereas at Sparks and Sawdust, when we got a chance to get together, we actually had time to talk to each other. And I don't think there's anything better than just hearing other people's ideas and learning from each other.
Yeah. Well, that shared experience is where the magic really happens. And the shared experience of there are so many great maker events that are going on now that you can't make them all. And it would be nice if you could, but that would be like going to every amusement park in the country. And it's a big commitment. Time, money, sure. But the nice thing is the maker events aren't necessarily expensive. It's the hotel that you got to get or the food. And I think that's one of the big downside to the maker events. A lot of people don't think about feeding themselves. So it'll be the end of the day, whether you're a presenter or a participant who's showing up, you maybe have breakfast, you forget about lunch because you're doing the project that you want to do, turning something, forging something, and then the next thing you know, it's 4:30, 5 o'clock, you got a headache, you're dehydrated, and you're getting snarly because you don't realize you're hangry. So, you got to stay on track with, being hungry, angry, lonely, and tired.
Last maker camp on Saturday, I had the worst headache I think I've ever had. It started hitting me around 3:30 or 4. I mean, it was bad. I took ibuprofen and Tylenol, and I just had to go somewhere and sit for a bit. I think I had a migraine. I've never had a migraine before, but that's, how my wife describes hers. So, yeah, I mean, and it is expensive getting there. I'm really excited. I'm going to 2 new ones this year that I've never gone to, and I'm going in a very different capacity, which I'm scared about. I'm going to go to the main event up in Scarborough with Brandon from Cross and Miter has been setting up this one. This is their second year. Excuse me. And I'm going to go to Texas to the Texas Woodworking Festival. And for both of those, I am setting up a booth with the jigs that I sell.
Wow.
I am beyond nervous. Coming back to this idea, I am taking things that I know are functional and work well and have sold a lot online, and I'm going in front of people where there's no longer the anonymity. You've 3 types. You've got the positive feedback, you got the negative feedback, and then you have these scrollers, which you don't see the scrollers. You don't see people who go, "Oh, this is stupid," and scroll past, right? That's what you want. If somebody doesn't like it on social media, scroll past it. That's what we always say. But now I'm going to be in person. So this scroll past is no longer a scroll past. It's a stroll past as I'm sitting there, and they go, "Okay, nobody's buying this," So I'm a little nervous to see if I sell stuff. I'm going to take the jigs. I'm going to take some templates. And I know that there are people who have a bigger inventory of different things that they make and sell. So that's the other part of it is with my couple of things, is it really worthwhile? But nothing ventured, nothing gained, really.
Yeah, well, it was kind of the same way you were talking about being a content creator. You have to have the courage to allow the vulnerability of being rejected, which is, that's some resilience right there. And the courage to step into the unknown. And, that's just a bit of maturity. And I think, the phases that we are in our life, it's okay. Yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Let's try this out. And good luck with that. Congratulations on going out. How do you feel when somebody at an event where you're a presenter comes up and says, "I love your jig," or "What you're doing is great," or "I follow you online and I wanted to meet you in person"? What sort of connection do you get with people when they tell you that they're a follower?
It's a 2-edged thing. The first part is that's an honor, not just honored, but really lucky, humbled. It's hey, this person appreciates what I'm doing, and it feels great. The other part is after that, it's really difficult for me because you already know all of my stuff. You know what I'm doing. You know my jigs, all this stuff. So I don't want to focus on myself. I really work hard afterwards to say, well, tell me about yourself, because it's great that people are following me and I hope that I'm giving people ideas, but I'm also aware that if you talk to somebody, we've all met that person that you go, wow, that person is really a jerk in real life. I don't like them at all, and it's really easy. I will never forget. I was working at a restaurant. This is 25 years ago. And this person has been working there for about 6 months. And they said to me, they're like, Logan, when I first started working here, I didn't like you. You seemed so egotistical and you just like knew everything. And I was like, and now what do you think? She's like, no, I like you. You're not egotistical. You're confident. There's a difference. And the problem is that it's not easy to tell the difference between an ego and confidence and self-confidence sometimes until you start talking to somebody and you realize, yeah, no, they're not self-confident. They're just egotistical, and I think it's really important to me. I have a true belief in the idea of what are people going to say about you after you're gone? The only legacy you have is how you have influenced people, how you've talked to them. So I truly, when I eventually shuffle off this mortal coil, I want people to have been happy to have had the opportunity to meet me. And I truly enjoy meeting other people and talking to them. So, it's a long way of saying, again, I seem to have a lot of words. Just when I meet people, I really enjoy meeting people and I love hearing about them as well. And I think that that's important.
Yeah, the personal perception that people have of me, I would like to put what I believe I am in their perception. It just never works out that way. So there's plenty of people out there who know me and are happier to see me leave than show up. But there's plenty of people that when I show up, they're happy to see me be a part of it, and that's really nice. What connection did you have with somebody in the maker community that's special to you, or can you share a connection that you made with somebody that turned into a friendship that you necessarily weren't expecting?
I think there's a ton of them. Tony Peps, Ryan Cochran from Cochran Kayak, Jimmy DeResta, Rob Rojas. My birthday this year, I got a phone call. I missed it, but I had a voicemail from Rob Rojas and Brian from Old Mountain Woodworks. I forget what he is, but
would it be
April
3rd?
Yeah. But that's right. We share a birthday, don't we?
We share.
I forgot about that, my brother.
Me, you, and Jimmy.
Yeah, that's always great. But I got a phone call from these guys. So Brian is like this super tall guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They called me and sang and wished me happy birthday and sang me a little birthday thing. And, you don't expect it. It was fantastic.
There we go. There's the dogs.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's pause that for just a second.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
You got them? Yeah. Here. So I just want to go outside. I just want to go outside. I love you. Oof. All right. So hopefully that does not mess up your
I can edit
too much.
It's all good.
So I got that phone call from them, and that was beautiful. Like it really, it made my day from the get go. And Tony and I text or message each other almost daily, and I never. I don't know. It's definitely, again, not something I ever thought of. Ryan is one of my best friends. And even though we don't talk often and we see each other once a year, it's always, you get together and it's like, hey, I just saw you. It doesn't feel like this is somebody I don't talk to or don't see. It feels like somebody that it's just natural to be with. So the friendships, really, it's amazing. So let's go with Jimmy DeResta because he's the easiest one, right? He's a big name person and you don't expect him to be so accessible. I wrote a book for a company. It's a book on routers. And they said, well, give us names of people who would review it. So I'm thinking, okay, who can I ask that might want to review this? And I was really hesitant because it's Jimmy and, he's a big guy. And you're like, well, I don't want to take advantage of this sort of friendship. I don't want him to be like, oh, God, he's just using me for my name or anything like that. But eventually I was like, okay, let me just see. And I reached out to him and thinking I wouldn't hear from him right away. But seconds later, he texted me back. He's like, absolutely. Give them my email. They can send me a copy of it. So I don't think they sent him a copy. I know they didn't, but they might later. But either way, he was happy to do it. And that I think speaks not only to the friendships you build, but also the community. Really, the people who are here generally just want to help each other. Generally. Again, there are a few people that I look at and I don't think they're very nice people. I think they're in it for themselves. And I've definitely had bad experiences with people, but 99% of the people that I've met are amazing.
Yeah. Being in proximity of somebody doesn't necessarily mean that you're not friends. It's just life happens and, being in different parts of the country. But when we travel, like I never thought that, I would be, having the conversation I had with you down in Alabama. I thought that would have been more at, the Blackthorn Resort during one of the Maker Camp weekends. But like you said, it's so busy. I think, sitting at Papa Chad's property, and there were, I think, less than 10 of us sitting around the fire pit at the end of the day. Everybody was just exhausted. And that's when your true nature comes out of who am I really sitting next to when you're tired and hungry and a little thirsty and you just want to sit and be yourself. And then, you can have some nice chats and it's great. And it was really nice to be able to spend time with you and the other guys. I had to ride with Tony Peps for 2 days. I know a lot about Tony. So, but, it was great to connect with him. And, you realize you might be from a different generation or different walks of life. Everybody wants the same things. And that's a nice thing about connecting in this community, that you're able to do it over time if you want. If you don't, that's fine. You can stay in your shop. Chad was saying, the maker community is the only place where an introvert can be an extrovert. So now there's, came up with the term outrovert. But, I know for me, I often come off gregarious, and it's less that's my personality, and it's more of I'm just trying to comfort myself. You sharing about the other waitress saying I thought you were arrogant. Again, it's how they perceive and how you're trying to get through your workday or get through the project. And it's, you just happen to be in the wake of, my hangry stage.
Well, I'm definitely, we've joked about this. My wife, my son, both introverts. And I've joked, I've said to them, I'm introverted. I get uncomfortable talking to people. She's like, you are nowhere near an introvert. You love to talk to people. You get energized. And I do. At the end of the day, talking to people, you get exhausted. But conversations, like I love learning and hearing and having fun with people. And I think that's the biggest problem with the Maker Camp is when you finally get a moment to sit down, it's so loud and there's so much going on. You don't really get the opportunity, unless you go to a fire pit somewhere, to really just sit down and talk with someone.
Yeah. I think it was Saturday night. I was just so exhausted and we sat down and then somebody had some sort of political comment and I just paused, which is not like me. I took a deep breath and I just said, you know what? This has been a really great weekend. I'm having a really nice time. I'm excited with new people that I've met, seeing old friends and the projects that I finished. I'm going to retire for the night. Have a good night. And, it doesn't have to be, and I got to learn how to regulate myself, but there's so much going on. And it's like Disney World. You can't do it all. You can't see everybody. Even I was at the Weaver event and I was trying to explain it to somebody. They had 10 classes going on at one time. You can't take all 10. And you have to sign up. Some are more popular than others. And even with those 10, you can't do all of them in 2 days. So I was able to do 4 classes and it was great. I snuck another one in there because me and Emmett, we asked if we could make a belt on the side. So we were able to do that in a break. But yeah, there's so many great things. What is one unexpected connection or friendship that happened to you?
Again, coming back to what I've talked about before, Jimmy DeRessa is an unexpected connection. I actually have been, I went up last year for the Field of Tools and sat down outside there and, we're having dinner. There's a couple of us having dinner. And there was some guy there. I will never forget. It was absolutely hilarious because this was not a conversation I expected to have on Jimmy's porch on an August night. We started talking about genetics and peanut farms, and we talked about different mRNA and everything else. As a former AP bio teacher, it was an interesting conversation. It was fun talking about it. So, there's always different connections that you don't see happening, and people that you become really, really close with, that you go, I've met this person online, and now we're, one of the people I would talk to in a heartbeat, one of the people I when something happens, I have to message this person,
Yeah, that's great. Has anybody like fanboyed you at all?
Not really. I mean, occasionally there's, one or two, but, I don't think for the most part, I think, the maker community, most people are like, there's so-and-so, it's really nice to meet him. Hey, I've seen your stuff, you know, but for the most part, nobody's ever done that to me, for the most part.
Have you gotten anything from YouTube, like any sort of, I guess, recognition for all of your videos or all your streaming? Or
No, I'm not at I need to do more. I'd like to get more on YouTube. I'm at like 68,000, and I would love to get up to that 100. We'll see what happens with redoing the bathroom. I'll do some video with that. I'm even thinking about getting a different camera so I can make sure to record it a little bit better than I do on my phone. Actually, I do have one funny story. So there's a local place by me. They're a cabinet shop, and I go to them when I need plywood because they can order Baltic birch plywood from Atlantic Plywood and get it there, and I'll pick it up. And I got them to start making some of my pieces that I make. It's cheaper for me to have them do it out of a 4x8 sheet than it is for me to have it cut down and do it that way. And I went in there one day, and I'm meeting this guy, and this other guy comes over, and he's just standing there. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. And he goes, well, this is my son. He goes, he's been following you for years and really wanted to get a chance to meet you. I was like, well, that was unexpected. It was nice to meet him. It was very funny. And now, of course, I go in there and we talk and just BS, and he tells me all the things going on. And so it's an interesting fanboy moment where I went, well, I haven't had anybody just stand there and go, so I don't know. Life is, right?
But that's kind of fun. When I was at the Weaver event, there was a grandfather and grandson there, and I ended up being in the same classes with them all along. And the grandson, I'm notorious for getting people's names wrong. So I kept calling him Bill, and he goes, it's Will. He kept correcting me. And I said, hey, I don't mean to upset you. I said, I'm an old man now. I'm going to get your name wrong. Correct me as often as you like. So I just got a follow on Instagram, and it goes, hey, Tom, it's Will. And that's it. So I'm looking, but you know what? The kid's 12 years old,
That's cool.
And he's, trying to make his way. So nobody tells you how to interact with an adult. Nobody tells you how to work through the awkwardness. So I just replied, hey, Will, it was great to see you and your grandfather. Thanks for the follow. Have a great summer. It's just as simple as that. And hopefully the kid, he continues to have some nice days with his grandfather and has a great summer. And, that's it.
Yeah, I am terrible with names. And at the same point, I always want to make sure I say people's names right. This just made me think of your event, made me think of this story. So when I was in the Navy, I went through boot camp, and then we went to hospital corpsman school. I was out at Balboa Naval Hospital in San Diego. And one night we were mopping the floors of the hospital, actually of the school. And this other guy was there with me. And I kept calling him I called him the wrong name like twice. And I was like, it's like, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. He's like, no. And he got so mad at me. He goes, it does matter. That's my name. Like, you're not calling me by my name. And that's rude. I was like, it's funny the things that happen that really make you stop and go, I hadn't thought about that. Like, for me, if somebody calls me by the wrong name, yeah, it's irritating, but you're like, okay, whatever. However, when you're having this conversation with them and you keep doing it, it does tell that other person something else. And I'm not saying that you did that, because I understand it. I've done the same thing. But it's just so funny when I look back at some of the things in my life that really influenced who I am. That waitress story that I told you, that really did influence me. That made me stop and look at how I interacted with people at the beginning. Being married for 23 years also influences that too, right? I'm not I don't talk as much as I did, and so I think that also affects how people see me. They don't necessarily see me as arrogant when I'm just standing there going, okay, you tell me, I don't know. I will never forget that guy, Rick. I think his name was Rick Angelo. He got kicked out of the Navy because he had hearing problems that he had
Wow.
he had discussed. He hadn't let people know. But man, that was just one of those defining moments of your life. You go, okay, that means something, and I need to remember that.
Yeah, everybody needs to get called out now and again.
Mhm.
And you just think, my social foible is not a big deal.
Right.
And to somebody, it is a big deal. And I've been called 1,000 different names. And being in the military or being in the fire department, you get called a lot of names.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Yeah. As we joke in college, someone would yell, I don't know where I can go with this, but I don't know how PG you want it to be, but someone would yell dickhead. And the joke was that 20 of us would turn around and go, yeah, you talking to me? That's how you talk to people. And that's fine. Shoot. We do that at Maker Camp too.
Yeah. But, there's a time and a place. Like you can do it in the field at the Blackthorn, but you don't want to do that in the mall when you're shopping with your family.
No. Yeah. As I tell my students, there's definitely a time and place, but it also comes down to lunchroom talk with your friends versus classroom or work environment talk.
Yeah, you got to be aware. That awareness not everybody gets. So what are you most excited about working on in the future other than your bathroom?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really excited about the bathroom. I'm excited about having it done. Yeah, because what I have to do with it is, like I said, some of it I'm aware of. So I'm going to take out a shower. It's a 32 by 32 inch shower. I'm going to expand it to 32 by 48. I need to take out part of a wall so I can have a larger vanity, and I'm going to put in a whole new wall with a sliding door. And the parts of this, I honestly I'm a little excited. I'm excited to get that wall up. I'm really excited to see how everything comes out. But there are parts of it that I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to have to call people and ask for help and phone a friend and all that stuff. One of the things I'm really excited about that I've been putting off doing is this piece right behind me is so it's the three skulls, the see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil on a tambour door where it literally, so I don't know. Did you see my snake when I did it for Maker Camp?
I did. Beautiful.
So I want to do the same thing with that. And it's going to so I'm actually going to make 3 of them. And I'm going to do curly maple, I think mahogany, and spalted maple, I think is the other one. A beautiful piece of spalted maple.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to do that on the front with a different backer on each of those. And so it's going to be that 2 color like that. And I'm going to make the pieces. I'm going to make 3 of them. I'm going to do one for myself, one as a gift. And I think one of them I want to take and do it as the Maker Camp swap.
Wow.
I'm looking forward to doing those just because I had so much fun doing it last time. I'm just thinking through the different ways of doing it. And I've been putting off really going into it because I want to focus on it. But I also have all these ideas for jigs that I just haven't had a chance to do. And I've been putting off doing those too. I have not. There's so many things that I don't have the skills to do in terms of the easiest way to do it. Like, my cabinet, you've seen my flat pack or my folding table cabinet. I want to flat pack it. And male guy, 5 guy, go kitchen now. No, sorry. No. Of course, he's driving away now by the time I get them all done. So, like I said, the problem with the flat packing it is that I don't have, so I want to flat pack that folding table cabinet design, but I don't have the knowledge of flat packing. I don't have experience designing those pieces. So, I'm looking forward to figuring it out, but I need to find people to talk to really walk through it. I've been wanting to do one of the jigs I want to add to my store is a micro jig match fit table saw sled. And there's 3 things keeping me from getting it done. And one is they have a rail kit, which I think will work so it can make everybody set it up. I would love to be able to do it so you could buy it with slots and everything already ready for you to install it. 2 is I want to make sure that it's easy to install the fence, the back rail, so that it's square and adjust it. And then the 3rd thing is the zero clearance insert. You want to make sure that it's easy to replace. And so those 3 things have really thrown me off because mainly when I've made my own table saw sleds, I've sort of done some workarounds, some cheats, and you can't do that if you're making a product for people to sell or to buy and set up on their own. So what I'm excited about is figuring out how to make it work the way I know it should.
Yeah, the time that you need to invest in that is precious, but knowing that those opportunities are out there and just starting, the cheats and the workarounds, that's what gets it done. And I'm sure, once you have time to focus on it, you'll accomplish it for sure.
Yeah, I really should have taken this time the past week to think about it because but I'm so focused on what I need to do for the bathroom and stuff that I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, like you don't know what you have to do. And that really takes up so much brain power in terms of I need to think about this. I need to go through the different steps. What am I forgetting? What don't I know? What do I need to ask? So, trying to get both of those pieces together. And then Friday too was they sent me the final draft for the book that's going to be out in November. So, up until then I've been, getting out of school, doing stuff and really thinking about that thing and trying to figure out where I made mistakes. And I don't know. They sent it on to 3 different people for their thoughts, and George Vondrastrika.
Yeah.
And that's another person that I never would have thought I would have a friendship with. George, we've texted each other a bunch. We talk. That's one of those people that you go, I've seen this guy doing Woodworkers Guild of America for years, and now, hey, would you mind looking at this? What do you think about that? So he's called me to ask questions and I've called him. And so it's one of those relationships I never would have ever imagined. So they sent it to him, Ramon Valdez, who is just an amazing person, and Albert Klein. And all 3 of them reviewed the book and had really, really great things to say about it. And it's really exciting. So I've been focusing so much on that because, again, here's that idea of putting yourself out there, saying, hey, here's something that I wrote. I took all this knowledge and I tried to consolidate it here, and I took ideas. So it's a book on routers. The company originally approached me and said, can you write a book on tips for routers? And when I think about a book on tips for routers, I don't think of you and I who've been using routers for years buying a book. I think of somebody who's brand new to it, picking it up and wanting something to help them. So I wrote it for somebody who's just starting out using a router. What is it you need to know? Hey, my dad wants to start woodworking and using a router. What should I get him? Here, this book will be perfect for using a router. And so it's got everything you need, start to finish, talks about, the types of routers, the parts of routers, the components, router bits, how to clean your router bits, how to take care of your router, some common issues that you have, how to use it, how fast to go, right? Everything like that. And then I go into, there's 9 jigs that I made. And this comes back to I make functional projects, not pretty projects, right? And I'm looking at these close-up pictures going, I really wish they would have not shown that piece of fiber coming off the side of the plywood. But, I say at the beginning, these are functional. These are not supposed to be pretty. If you want to make them pretty, you absolutely can. I make my stuff functional so I can use it. So I have 9 jigs, a corner rounding template, handles, base, new bases, a circle jig, my flattening sled, my router table, and a fence, and a splining jig, a couple other things. So then I do 9 projects, 9 jigs, showing you how to make those, all the steps, what do you need? And then there's variations in there too. I have tool tips and, hey, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but if you want to, it's going to help here. And then I have 3 projects using just those jigs. So the first one is just making like a serving tray. Like I call it a barbecue board because I inlaid a barbecue design that I filled with epoxy. And I show how to do that, either with a paper template or with a real template, right? So I show how to do that, how to joint it, adding handles. Then I do a plant stand that is 2 circles with 3 legs. I love the design of that. And what's nice is that is something you could scale up to make a table, a side table. You could cut it in half and do, it's one of those half circle tables. And then I made a box that I gave to my daughter and I inlaid a butterfly on the top. So I'm really proud of it. But again, it's one of those things that you're putting yourself out there, and it gives people the opportunity to look at it and go, yeah, I don't think you know what you're talking about. So getting feedback finally, because I literally finished it last July, and they held on to it for 6 months until they decided what to do with it. And then, in that time, you don't get any feedback. And then they started editing it, putting it into the book. And it's amazing to see the pictures, right? So as I made stuff, I took pictures, and I had a little clicker with with my phone that as I'm holding stuff, I first tried to set up a timer, which is ridiculous. I got to set up a timer for 5 seconds. I need to get into space, into the position. So then I found I had a clicker, and I started taking automatic pictures. And so I sent them the directions and the written component. And I said, these 3 pictures I think should go here. Pick the best one. So they went through and did that. So it was amazing seeing this whole thing come together. But at all that time, I never got feedback from anybody about the substance of the book until George, Ramon, and Albert looked at it and, really had good things to say. So it was very exciting.
That's great. Yeah, that is exciting to think of. Let me give you some rapid fire questions. We'll
go for it.
All right. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Good answer. What are you listening to in your shop when you're working?
It's so tough because I hate to say this, but probably 70% of the time, nothing. I am so this is a conversation. This is a rapid fire question. Here's a long answer. Because we've had this conversation. If I listen to an audio book, then I focus on the book and I might miss stuff that I'm doing. So then I focus on what I'm doing and I miss what's happening in the book. So it's like, okay, I can't. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts, but again, it can be the same thing as I start focusing on what they're saying and I miss what I'm doing, or vice versa. And then if I listen to music, I actually listen to it on my Pandora station. It's labeled Sum 41 Radio. So it's alternative rock from the 90s, but I have a lot of Irish, Celtic rock. And I always feel so stupid saying it. I love like the Dubliners and stuff like that. I love listening to that music.
Yeah, me too. So there's a crowd for it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite tool in your shop?
Definitely my router. I love my table. I love the stuff I can do with the table saw. I love my laser, my CNC. If I need to do something, I reach for the router so often.
It's great. What about a collaboration? Who would you like to collaborate with? Anybody. Doesn't need to be in the maker community.
Oh my God. I don't know. I mean, there's so many great makers and it would depend on what we're making. Evan's workshop was supposed to be coming here. And I was really, really excited. We were going to make something to donate to Autism Up, which is a local place. He had to cancel because his dad had a thing. I would love to, when we were at Sparks and Sawdust, I got to work a little bit with Jimmy on making that table. And it's interesting, the barbecue bench. It's interesting watching him make stuff because it's so, he just does it. He doesn't really think through it, or he thinks through it. He just doesn't say it. It just happens. He's like, I'm going to do this. Boom. I'm going to do this. Boom.
He has a vision. He usually just doesn't share it right away. And then you see the vision happen and you're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah. Oh, that's why he's cutting those 17 pieces to that length. I don't know. Like, I don't really know who or what. It would have to be, what is it we're making that I would say I would love to collaborate on someone. I've had a chance. I went to a Festool build off a couple years ago, and that was really a lot of fun to work with different people. It was Tyler Sheehan, the Southern Craftsman, Sam DIY Huntress, Drew Witt was in our group, and there was someone else. Maybe it was Brandon. It was Cross and Miter, and it was so much fun working with other people, and I'm so used to working by myself that it was just very different.
Yeah, that's great. What about if time or money were not an issue? What would you be working on?
Time and money were not an issue. For years, I have wanted to do a table base that looks like a tree. It's one of those things that's always sort of been in my head and I've seen people do it, but I just want to make a table base look like a tree with the table coming out of it as a branch.
That'd be cool. Where can people find your stuff? Where can they go online or social media?
Look up Newman Specials. As soon as you look up Newman Specials, you'll get my Etsy, my webpage, Instagram, YouTube. TikTok. I post stuff occasionally on Reddit, although it's hard to post stuff on Reddit. At one point, I got banned from posting on Reddit because I was not commenting enough on other people's stuff. Because you know what? Reddit is different to me than social media, like other social media. Like Instagram, I truly believe that it's a community and it doesn't work. If you just post, you have to look at other people's stuff. And not only is it good because you get ideas, but we're a community, right? Versus like TikTok, it's so mercurial. You may or may not see somebody's stuff. Facebook is Facebook. It can be a cesspool. It can be a great place, but Reddit is just, to me, it's such a weird. Some of the people there are the meanest you'll ever meet.
All right, Logan, thank you so much for sharing your time. Thanks for connecting with me down at Sparks and Sawdust and here on the podcast. And I look forward to seeing you, if not before Maker Camp, definitely at Maker Camp.
It'll be a great time as always. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate talking to you and just getting a chance to share. I really appreciate that, Tom.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thanks so much to Logan for joining me today. It was great to speak with him about not only his jigs, his book, and his bathroom renovation, but how he connects with the community at large and those special connections when you don't think they're going to pop up. If you want to see any of Logan's work, you can always go into the search bar and look for Newman's Specials Woodworks. He's on all social media platforms. He's also going to be at Maker Camp. So if you want to see him in person, stop by, make a connection. Remember to keep creating, keep connecting. Thanks for joining me on Create and Connect podcast.